Hello everybody, welcome back to Redstone 101. My name is Mike Cuban, and today we'll be talking about redstone power sources. Before we talk about the different power sources, I want to talk about powered blocks. There are weakly and strongly powered blocks. I've also heard them called soft and hard powered blocks. But the difference is that weakly powered blocks are powered by redstone dust and cannot power redstone dust in return, whereas hard powered blocks are powered by any other redstone component, such as a repeater or redstone torch, and can power redstone dust. Both of them, however, power any other redstone components next to them. First, we'll talk about redstone torches. They can be crafted by placing a piece of redstone dust on top of a stick. A redstone torch can be placed on any side of a block except for the bottom side, and when you try to place it on the bottom side, it will attach itself to the nearest block in the same space. You'll notice that all of these torches turned off, meaning they will no longer power anything, and that is because when the block that a torch is attached to becomes powered, it will turn off. Redstone torch strongly powers the block above it, which means it'll power any adjacent redstone components. It will also power any redstone components next to it or below it, but it will never power the block that it is attached to. Redstone torch emits a signal strength of 15, meaning that any redstone immediately next to it would be powered to a signal strength of 15, and that signal strength will go down by 1 for each block that has traveled, until eventually you get to 0, at which point you run out of power. A redstone torch can experience what's called a burnout, and this happens when the torch turns on and off very rapidly. I believe it is 8 times within 3 seconds. And at this point, it will no longer power anything until it has been updated again. I've set this up here with a little bit of delay so you can see it a bit slower. You know it's burnt out when it turns off and it makes that sizzle sound. Next, we'll be talking about a lever. It can be crafted by placing a stick over a piece of cobblestone. It can be placed on any side of a block, and when active, it will power any redstone components next to it, as well as strongly power its attachment block. Any redstone dust next to an active lever will be powered to a signal strength of 15. Next, we'll talk about redstone blocks. They can be crafted by placing 9 pieces of redstone dust in a square. They are always active and will power any redstone components next to them, as well as powering redstone dust to a signal strength of 15. Here are a few examples of what else can be powered. While it will power a piston from any other side, it will not power it from the front side, but a piston can push a redstone block when it is powered. There are 2 types of buttons, both stone buttons and wooden buttons, and both can be crafted by placing the corresponding material in a crafting table like so. This stone button comes in 2 variations, both regular stone and a smooth black stone button. It can be placed on any side of a block, and when pressed, it will remain active for 1 second or 10 redstone ticks. A wooden button comes in all the wood variants, and when activated will remain active for 1.5 seconds or 15 redstone ticks. Wooden button can also be activated by shooting it with an arrow or throwing a trident at it. It will remain active until the arrow despawns or is picked up by a player. It will also power any redstone objects around it, and it will strongly power the attachment block. Similar to all the things we've discussed so far, it will power redstone dust to a signal strength of 15. There are 4 types of pressure plates: wooden, stone, lightweight pressure plates, and heavy-weighted pressure plates. They can all be crafted by placing the corresponding materials next to each other in a crafting table like so. When activated, it will power any redstone components next to them, as well as power its attachment block to a signal strength of 15. Wooden pressure plates can be activated by both entities and items. Throw this egg onto it and it activates, but I can pick up the egg, and when I'm standing on it, it is still active. And when I get off, it turns off. A stone pressure plate cannot be activated by items, but will be activated by entities. Now, lightweight pressure plates and heavyweight pressure plates will both be activated by entities or items, but their signal strength can vary. A golden pressure plate increases signal strength for every mob that's on it. So if I place 1 mob on it, there will be 1 signal strength. If I place another, there will be 2. Another, 3, so on and so forth. It'll keep going up until it reaches a maximum of 15. Lightweight pressure plates is the same system, but with a multiplier of 10. So I can put 1 on it and it will power it to 1. But until I get to 11, or just past 10, it will not activate the second piece. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And notice it still isn't active, but as soon as I add in the next one, it is now up to 11. All pressure plates will remain on for at least 1 second, but as soon as the thing that's activating them gets off, it will turn off after half a second. The tripwire hook can be crafted by placing an iron ingot over a stick, which is placed over a wooden plank. It can also be placed on any side of a block except for the top or bottom side. In order for a tripwire hook to work, it must be placed in line with another tripwire hook, and it must be connected by string. Whenever an entity passes through the string, it will activate the tripwire hooks, and the tripwire hook will power its attachment block, as well as any other redstone components next to it. When broken, it will also produce a pulse for half a second, unless it is broken with a pair of shears. It will not produce a pulse if its attachment block or the tripwire hook itself is broken. A trap chest can be crafted by placing a regular chest and a tripwire hook in a crafting table in any configuration. A trap chest emits a signal strength dependent on how many players are looking into the chest. If one player is looking into it, it will emit a signal strength of 1. If 2 players are looking into it, it will emit a signal strength of 2, and so on and so forth, with a maximum of 15 players. I can kind of demonstrate that here. If just I'm looking at it, this redstone lamp here will activate, but not the second one. It'll also power any redstone components next to it, except for a comparator, but we'll be talking about comparators in another video. It also powers the block below it, which will power any other redstone components next to it, which includes a comparator. A lectern can be crafted by placing a bookshelf in the middle of a crafting table with 3 wooden slabs across the top and 1 wooden slab in the bottom middle. Whenever the page of a book in a lectern is turned, it will power any adjacent redstone components to maximum power, or power level of 15, for half of a second. You can see that off to the side here. Whenever I turn the page, the redstone dust and the redstone lamps get powered briefly. Now, whenever there is a comparator facing away from a lectern, it will give out a signal strength depending on what page the book in the lectern is on. If you want to know more about this, I'd recommend checking out the Minecraft Wikipedia page, because there's a big fancy math equation that's associated with it. A detector rail can be crafted by placing 3 iron ingots on one side of a crafting table and 3 iron ingots on the other side of a crafting table, with a stone pressure plate in the center with a piece of redstone dust on the bottom middle. Whenever a minecart travels over a detector rail, it will power any adjacent redstone components as well as the block that it is attached to. It will not, however, power a redstone comparator, unless the minecart traveling over it is a minecart with a chest or minecart with a hopper, at which point the comparator will emit a signal strength proportional to how full the chest or hopper is. A target block can be crafted by placing a hay bale in the center of a crafting table surrounded by 4 pieces of redstone dust, and can be activated by hitting it with a projectile. These are most of the projectiles that can activate a target block. When it is hit by an arrow or a trident, it'll power anything next to it for 1 second, whereas when it's hit by any other projectile, it will power for 0.4 seconds. It emits a signal strength based on how close to the center of the target you hit. You notice if I hit near the edge of the block, I get a signal strength that's very low, whereas if I hit right in the center of the block, I'll get a much higher signal strength. Target blocks can also redirect redstone signals into them, so when I hit this button, you'll notice this isn't powered because no redstone is being directed into it, but this target block pulls the redstone into it, which powers this block and powers this redstone lamp. The daylight detector can be crafted placing 3 pieces of glass in the top row, 3 nether quartz in the middle row, and 3 wooden slabs in the bottom row. It emits a signal strength based on how much light it has access to, specifically skylight, so it's not affected by things like torches. It can also be inverted, so signal strength is based on how dark it is instead of how much skylight it has access to. It does not power any blocks next to it, but it does power any adjacent redstone components. If you want to know specifically what signal strength it emits, depending on the light level, I would definitely recommend looking up the Minecraft Wikipedia article on daylight detectors, which will be linked in the description. And finally, we have the observer, which can be a very useful block. It can be crafted by placing 3 pieces of cobblestone in the top row and 3 pieces of cobblestone in the bottom row, with 1 piece of nether quartz in the front, followed by 2 pieces of redstone dust. This side of the observer observes block updates. It looks like a little face, which looks at the block in front of it to see if it changes. If that happens, then this side of the observer sends out a redstone pulse that is 0.1 seconds long, or 1 redstone tick, and that pulse has a signal strength of 15 and is strongly powered. Here are a few examples of this happening. If I update this trapdoor, you'll see it fires a pulse. I can open and close the shulker box, which will update it. I can also break and place blocks, which will update it. And when an observer itself is moved, it will also send out that pulse. Thank you all for watching. I hope you learned something new. If you want to learn anything else about these blocks, I've linked the websites to each of them in the description below. I only talked about the Redstone applications of these blocks, but there's still some things within the game that these blocks are good for outside of Redstone, so I definitely recommend reading the articles on them. But other than that, thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great day.